So I've previously made a video on this channel attempting to explain how magic works in Runeterra. In it, I explained that magic was the power to control different parts of reality, and that it could generally be divided into three categories: elemental, spiritual, and celestial. If you want a proper recap, I'd suggest going back to watch that video, but here's the gist of it. Elemental magic lets you control the elements, obviously. Wind, earth, fire, lightning, water, etc. Spiritual magic lets you control more abstract concepts: thoughts, dreams, emotions, memories, and souls. Lastly, celestial magic is the power to control the cosmos itself. Stars, moons, planets, basically it's space magic. In my previous video, I mentioned that these three types of magic are no strangers to intersecting with each other. But looking closer at the lore, I believe that they're even more intrinsically linked than we first realized, and that link may very well hold the truth about the godlike beings called the aspects of Targon. Runeterra is a world with many so-called gods, which I think goes to show just how vague and versatile that word actually is. However, it's generally agreed that if any entities in Runeterra's world are truly deserving of that title, it's the Celestials, those who reside in and shape the cosmos. There are a few different types of Celestials we know about, but the most notable are probably the Star Dragons, like Aurelian Sol. These ancient beings are said to be about as old as Runeterra's universe itself, born at the dawn of time, or very nearly. They were the ones who filled the vast emptiness of space with starlight, allowing matter to collect and form planets. Effectively, they're the closest things Runeterra has to creator deities, but they're generally not the ones being worshipped as gods. No, the ones that Runeterrans typically deify are the aspects of Targon. If I were to liken them to anything, I'd say they are most similar to the gods of Olympus, a race of powerful immortal beings that govern the forces of the world from atop a sacred mountain. Now, at the time of this video, we only know about 7 aspects: the Golden Sister, the Silver Sister, the Trickster, the Warrior, the Protector, the Traveler, and the yet unnamed aspect of Justice. Let's run through each of them briefly to give you an overview of their respective roles in Targon's pantheon. The Golden and Silver Sisters are by far the simplest. They are the aspects of the sun and moon, and govern the cycle of day and night. The Trickster is better known as the aspect of twilight, and its job is to herald significant changes in Runeterra: the rise and fall of nations, the beginning and end of an era, and so forth. The Protector is, as the name implies, the aspect of protection. Their job is to safeguard life on Runeterra, although the exact meaning of this is a little vague. The best example we have is the Protector intervening to save an endangered species of flower. So I guess you could say that its ultimate goal is to prevent the mass extinction of any species. The Traveler can be thought of as the aspect of guidance, who helps the lost both metaphorically and literally find their paths. Lastly, the aspect of justice is all about dealing out punishment to sinners and the wicked. Hey, Future Gold here. So, somehow during my script, I completely forgot to talk about the aspect of war, aka the Warrior. As their name implies, their job is just to wage war on things. The only times we've really seen this are in Aurelian Sol short story, where the warrior's previous host is trying to wage war against the Void, and then we see him, possessing Atreus going to wage war against the Darken. So, he basically just goes around picking a fight with, I guess, any potential world-ending threat, or at the very least, any entities that might be considered a threat to Targon. It's a little vague, but easy enough to understand. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in there, since I forgot to in my original script. However, the aspects can't do all this alone. As they reside within the celestial realm and seemingly can't manifest on Runeterra themselves, at least not without a great deal of effort, they choose mortal vessels to inhabit and enact their will. Usually, it's in the form of a partnership. You get divine power and extended life, and all I need is for you to go where I say and do what I say when I say it. However, as we've seen with Atreus and even Leona to an extent, aspects can attempt to overpower their host completely if they so choose. Presumably, they don't do this more often to appear more amicable, but we'll get back to that in a bit. Alright, so the aspects are a particular group of celestials that rule over Runeterra from atop Targon, and enact their wills through their mortal hosts. However, they are not the only celestials out there. See, thanks to legends of Runeterra and even some of League proper, we know about a great many celestials now. Namely, the fact that Runeterra's constellations are, in fact, alive. This isn't quite so surprising, as we already knew that the warrior has his own constellation. So, wait, does that mean that all the aspects are really constellations? If so, does that mean all constellations are aspects? Then what about the sisters? The sun and moon aren't constellations, so what's their deal? To truly understand, I think we need to take a step back and examine some of the other deific figures around Runeterra. While the gods of the cosmos are certainly in a league all their own, there are other figures around Runeterra that fit the classical concepts of gods. Most notable, perhaps, are the Freljordian spirit gods. In particular, we know of Ornn, Volibear, and Anivia, who preside over primal fire, lightning, and ice. They are worshipped as deities in the Freljord, alongside other animal-like spirits we don't currently know the names of. Now, Ornn has a whole bunch of folktales about his origin, but most of them are exactly that, folktales told by the people of the Freljord. As far as his bio is concerned, we don't actually get any real indication of how he and his kin came about. But there is one line that I find particularly interesting. Some of his siblings appear to have taken physical form once more, their cults of followers growing restless and aggressive. In other words, the forms we see Ornn, Anivia, and Volibear take in-game are just their physical bodies, but they are still, at their core, spirits tied to the land of the Freljord itself. These are not the only spirits to be deified, however. Janna, who resides on the isthmus between Valoran and Shurima, is a wind spirit that started out as little more than a faint breeze. Local myths and superstitions allowed her to manifest a physical form, and when people began to build a whole religion around her, she became strong enough to effectively become the land's guardian, thus earning her name. By that same token, however, Janna weakened over time when people stopped worshipping her, and nearly faded into obscurity until a bunch of drowning people desperately called out to her for help. In the modern day, Janna can only manifest herself properly when enough people pray to her all at once. But Janna proves one very important detail. Spirits, unlike demons who prey on pain and suffering, thrive on faith and belief. After all, why wouldn't they? The spirit realm is the realm of the abstract, so of course entities residing there would feed on abstract concepts. Even Volibear mentions that, although he can never truly die, he's not truly alive if the warriors of the Freljord stop praying to him. To that same end, even death spirits like the Kindred can fade into nothing if people stop believing in them, as we've seen with the fading icon. In other words, spirits can become gods if they have mortal superstitions to cling to, or fade into almost nothing if their followers stop believing in them. I believe that even beings like Nagakeboros and the spirit of Ionia may follow the same logic, as they embody the beliefs and cultures of the lands that revere them. But what does all this have to do with the Celestials? Well, consider this. In the real world, how many myths and legends exist about the sky? Nearly every major religion in history has had some sort of divine explanation for the heavens. the sun and moon have been deified more times than we can probably count, and people have been making constellations by playing connect the dots with stars as far back as ancient Mesopotamia. Indeed, we know Runeterrans are much the same, passing down stories about the heavenly bodies. Remember, though, that in the world of Runeterra, beliefs are a form of power. My theory is this. I believe that the aspects of Targon, the so-called gods and goddesses of Runeterra, are in fact celestial spirits. Formless, nameless entities adrift in the cosmos that attach themselves to the beliefs of mortal races. They empower themselves through the prayers of those who dwell below, embodying stories humans tell each other to explain cosmic phenomena. And, just like spirits, they can be channeled and harnessed through mortal vessels. We can even see this power through belief playing out in lore to an extent, with the war between the Solari and Lunari. We still don't know how or why this conflict truly began, but we know that the Golden Sister wants to usurp the Silver Sister and become the predominant deity of the skies. And what better way to do that than labeling the moon worshippers as heretics? If faith in the Silver Sister dies out, then her power will wane to almost nothing. But that's all a theory for a different video. So, in conclusion, I believe that the aspects of Targon were not born gods, but rather they were cosmic spirits who became gods through the beliefs and legends of mortals. They possess phenomenal celestial power, but only so long as the people of Runeterra continue to revere them. That's likely why aspects generally prefer to bargain with mortals as opposed to straight up possess them. It's better for them to be revered rather than feared. Because who wants to worship a god that takes over your mind and body? Aside from Malzahar, I guess. Perhaps the celestial realm itself is, in fact, just another part of the spirit realm, like the realm of death or the Bandle Tree. It would certainly explain why there's a Lunari temple in the spirit realm, of all places. But what do you all think? Leave your thoughts down below, and I'll see you all next time.